Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Screencastify video showing you how this Boston Tea Party is going to work. I'm going to be posting one of these videos in each day's folder so that you guys will have the specific directions for each activity, as well as each source that we are going to be using for each day. So as you can see here, this is period 2's screen. However, if you are in period 5 or 6, it looks exactly the same. Boston Tea Party folder is up here at the top. We're going to click on that. When that loads, you will see, for you right now, you'll only see days 1 and 2, but soon these will all be filled in. You'll see here day 1, day 2, and this video is going to focus on the materials in the day 1 folder. So when you come in here, you will notice there are a bunch of things listed, but let me just explain to you what each one of them are. So they're all labeled source 1, 2, 3, and then your final activity, the T-chart down here at the bottom. However, you'll notice there are doubles of each one of the sources. So these sources tend to be a little bit difficult as far as the language goes. These are written in Old English. So there are some words and phrases that are not familiar to people in 2021. So what I've done is on any of these that say translated, these have been rewritten for you in 6th grade friendly language for the most part. All right. So what I'd like to do, my expectation is that you give a good effort on the first part of the source or the original source. And then if you need to, use the translated as a helping guide for you as you move forward. So let's just jump into it, guys. For day 1, you're going to have a big question to answer, and that big question is going to be, what were the issues or the grievances that the colonists had before the events of the Boston Tea Party, and what steps did they take in order to try to avoid those things? So I'm going to start by taking us over to source number 1 here. This is the source I'm going to be working in for our demonstration video. However, you will be working on sources 1, 2, and 3 as you move through this. But the process for all of them is going to be exactly the same. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is read through the entire thing. And in a color other than yellow, you're going to use your markup tool, your text highlighter, and you're going to highlight any of the words that you feel like you didn't know. So these are some that the class had said that they didn't know that I had already highlighted, and I was able to explain to them what those words meant. Now, if you are in class, you are more than welcome to ask me the definition, but if you are outside of class, feel free to Google that and try to get a little more information on your own. When you've identified the words that you don't know, you are going to come back with a different color. So I would prefer yellow. That's what I'm going to be using to come through and figure out what are pieces of information that count as a issue and what is something that's going to count as a step that has been taken. So for example, I'm going to highlight this sentence right here. All right. This whole passage right here. This right here says the tea belonged to the British East India Company, which had been granted a monopoly over tea imports. This monopoly led the company to undercut colonial merchants' prices on untaxed tea, forcing colonists who bought the cheaper tea product to recognize a British tax. So this is something that I would consider an issue that the colonists had before the events of the Boston Tea Party. So what we're going to do is when you've identified that information, you're going to come over to your tea chart, and you'll see mine's already kind of filled out. But if you notice, I've got it broken up into source 1, grievances and issues, source 2, grievances and issues, and source 3, grievances and issues. So what we're working on now is source 1. I just identified something as an issue, and I'm going to take this sentence that I've highlighted and break it down into some bullet points that you can see here. So I broke it down into 2. The British East India Company controls the tea trade, and the Tea Act of 1773 put a high tax on tea for colonists. And if you come back here, that's essentially what we highlighted just broken down. So my expectation is that for this tea chart, ladies and gentlemen, you are going through source 1, source 2, and source 3 and answering essentially the same question each time. Can I find evidence of either an issue or a step taken before? When you are done, guys, what I need you to do is to turn in your highlighted documents. So all sources that you highlighted on, please use this turn in button up here to turn it in. And you need to turn in your tea chart that has been completed. If you are in class, you will be working with a partner, and you should know the steps for that. If you have any confusions about what your partner is expected to do versus what you are expected to do, you can feel free to email me, and I will be able to explain that for you. But please remember, each source we are answering this question. Is it an issue that the colonists had with the British, or was it a step that they had taken before the events of the Boston Tea Party, some way that they had tried to prevent this event from happening?